Welcome back to my channel. Here's a question for you. What do Bill Clinton and Heidi from the Philippine Antics channel have in common? Stick around because part of this video will answer exactly that. Let's begin by pointing out that Heidi is continuing her streak of talking about trolls criticizing her channel.
We know we get trolled. We know people talk about us talking about their precious pea or talking about other shit, how we lie and make things up or that we're so far off.
She constantly talks about these supposed trolls in vague terms, like different numbers of them, or alludes to the size of their channels. But since I have no names, it's impossible to verify if her complaints are valid. However, my channel has shown her talking about pee, shown the other shit, and yep, I've methodically shown how she has lied and made things up.
The first thing is always the size, the weight, and that's all you guys got.
This brings us to the Bill Clinton connection, so hang on. In one stream after another, Heidi insists that her trolls are hyper-focused on her size and weight. But I don't do that. I methodically lay out the evidence for my criticisms. What is telling is that Heidi refuses to address specific examples of her bad behavior. It's weird. I mean, I've had trolls attack me when I criticized them, but I simply took the opportunity to show how they twisted my words or made false assumptions. It was easy to deal with them. Yet that isn't what Heidi does. She just focuses on personal attacks regarding her weight, etc. It's almost like she is incapable of defending herself against the more serious, substantive criticisms. This is the same tactic used by Clinton and the Democrat Party in the 1990s. Most of you probably remember all the talk about Clinton's adultery with Monica Lewinsky. What you probably didn't realize was that the Democrats wanted that to be the issue, because the main issue was far worse and far more difficult to make excuses for. You see, the main issue was that Clinton was guilty of lying under oath. Perjury, especially by the president, is extremely serious and fully justifies impeachment. So, the strategy was to make it sound like the big issue was just about sex. Besides being of lesser legal importance, it allowed them to use the excuse that everybody lies about sex. Many people accepted that narrative and were happy to move on. It's the same thing with Heidi. She ignores any substantive criticism regarding her lies and over again deflects by talking about silly personal attacks. Oh, I have no doubt that some people make those attacks, but I provide substance. It's all about Heidi, like Clinton, trying to distract you from what actually matters. When Heidi or George actually do refer to other criticisms, it is always vague, and they never prove the critics wrong. They certainly haven't disproven anything I've documented. For example,
They like to flip on us and say that it's because you pick on other people. You're always picking on people. Well, you talk shit and trap, so you deserve it. And you lie and make stuff up, and everything you get, you deserve. And it's like, you need to really sit down somewhere.
yeah, because Heidi actually does those things. She is constantly criticizing other channels, so when karma sets in, it is entirely deserved. I have documented them lying and fabricating stories in a number of my videos, but instead of refuting specific points, Heidi just declares that critics need to sit down somewhere. The problem is, she doesn't do that. She deserves criticism partly because she refuses to sit down herself. Next, we have a strange line of both behavior and logic as she tries to write off her critics.
Whoever you're around, you're going to take that out on. So if I'm having a bad day because of my health, or I'm having a family disagreement, then I'm going to take that out on George, which is usually true. So maybe this person that wants to sit there and talk about this, and that has just got their own sad stuff going on. Most of these people pointing the finger are overweight, smokers, drinkers, sex offenders, whatever the fuck you are.
The first problem here is the idea that if you have a bad day, you simply take it out on your family. Sure, that happens, yet every day, billions of people manage not to take it out on others. They actually exercise self-control. A classic example is a server in a restaurant. They have their share of bad days at home, yet somehow, most of them manage not to take it out on their customers. If they did, tips would be poor or they lose their jobs. Or you can have a bad day at work and still not make your partner suffer. It's called being an adult. The second problem is how she projects this poor behavior onto her critics, claiming they only attack her because of their own personal misery. Once again, this ignores the actual valid criticisms. No surprise there. Heidi even assumes the critics are overweight, smokers, drinkers, and even sex offenders. Well, for the record, I'm right in the middle of my proper weight range, I don't smoke or drink, and I'm certainly not a sex offender. But let's not forget the Heidi and George rule about critics that I've documented before. They believe that if someone accuses you of something, it is because the critics are actually guilty of it themselves. Now, I reject that concept. But since Heidi and George believe it, I guess that must mean Heidi smokes, drinks, and is a sex offender. Don't complain to me. That is Heidi's logic, not mine. Heidi also complains about things that are meaningless, like this.
And now they're doing things in so many different ways. They're AIing and scripting it.
Now, AI can be a problem. We've all seen channels that just tell AI to write a story with a few basic prompts, resulting in the usual mediocre crap with no real thought behind it. But AI is not inherently bad. For example, I have used AI to help refine my scripts twice. But consider the details. First, I create an original script myself. Then I ask the AI to improve how I express those thoughts. When I get the result, I don't just blindly accept it. I compare my script to the AI version and decide sentence by sentence which words to keep, or I may come up with a third option. The end result is I only change a small amount in a long script. There is nothing wrong with using AI that way. It's still my thoughts. It's no different than having an editor at a magazine. This brings us to her complaint about scripting. She acts as if there is something wrong with writing down what you want to say. Once again, Heidi can't explain why it's bad. She just brings it up repeatedly as a negative without thinking. Heidi also refers to some YouTube channel in America.
The other one that has a YouTube channel is in America, and he's a big ass fan of the Filipina P. And so anytime we mention the P, he clocks out. Anytime we mention something, he calls us a liar, and it's like, dude, you're just promoting our channel.
Well, while I was on YouTube years ago, I'm on Rumble now. So despite the fact that I'm a fan of P, Heidi may be talking about someone else. But for the record, I don't automatically react when Heidi talks about P. But yeah, when I catch Heidi lying or making baseless assumptions, I'm likely to react. Heidi is free to try to defend herself in a substantive way. You know, instead of whining about people talking about her weight. As for supposedly promoting their channel, that isn't even a consideration for me. I just make it a point to deal with people who lie. I did so when they talked about P, Regular Guy, Tim K, and the Mike from the Our Philippine Journey channel. But since I'm more familiar with P's videos, it's easier to tell when someone is lying about her.
If you know the YouTube game, it just irritates them more than it does us.
That's nice, but I know the game, and it is far bigger than YouTube. And I've been handling this since before George and Heidi were born, and I play a very long, patient game. Thanks for watching, and don't let the trolls stop you from speaking out.